We are live, everyone. Thank you so much for being here and welcome to the weekly show of Classroom Without Walls, using technology to reimagine education. My name is I'm the host of this weekly show. I created this show because I believe our society has changed a lot. Social media and the technology play a huge role in our changing society. As educators, we need to change how we teach and how we interact with our students. On this show, I interview leading professionals like Schnelly Burke and educators regarding topics related to social media, technology, change, education, and disruption. If you are new to the show, thank you so much for being here. And if you are a returning attendee, you know how much I love you and how much your support means to me. And if you are watching this on replay, as I know several people told me they are going to check out the replay. Hey, future people, thank you so much for checking us out. Today, I'm so honored to have Schnelly Burke join me and join us as my guest of honor to talk about PR and social media. Schnelly is the CEO and founder of her own consulting agency, Schnelly Burke Consulting. And she's also the founder of a really popular Twitter chat called Measure PR. I definitely recommend you check it out. It is all about measuring public relations outcomes. Schnelly is also a speaker and a digital storyteller. Outside of the professional realm, Schnelly is a successful teacher or instructor at Johns Hopkins University and Rutgers University. In 2016, Schnelly just won the Instructor of the Year award by the communication program at Johns Hopkins University. So congratulations, Schnelly. And we are so honored to have you join us to teach us and to share with us how to best integrate PR with social media. And welcome to the show, Schnelly. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wow, that was an amazing introduction. I was like, wow, who's she talking about?
Oh.
But it's such a pleasure to be here. And your energy is just so infectious. I was like, I just can't help smiling every time I look at you because you're so full of passion and energy. It's really, really wonderful. And I just want to say hi to everybody who is joining from all over the world today. That's really, really exciting.
Yeah, we have a very global audience. And if you don't mind typing in the comment section where you are joining us from, that will be great. It always brings me so much joy to think I'm in the US, I'm in Korea, and my guest is in the US, and we have audience all over the globe. This is such a amazing global community. And thank you so much for being here, everyone. We have Elaine here, Antonio's here, Shwal here, Suzanne here, and Janana, and here. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And oh wow, Emily is also here. And welcome to the show, everyone. Thank you so much.
Oh my God, Sydney, Australia. Wow, this is amazing. This is so
I know,
cool.
right? We should have
Texas in the house.
We should have a global summit right now. And thank you so much, everyone. And if you don't mind giving the show a share, that will be greatly appreciated. And Tressa is here so that more people can check out. I love your energy, Schnelly. So that more people can check out our content and can check out the amazing insights that Schnelly is about to share with us. So we are just going to dive in. Do you want to add anything to my very brief introduction of you, Schnelly?
It was such a great introduction. Thank you so much. The only thing I would add is that as part of my educational kind of mission, because I feel very strongly about giving back and continuing to teach while we work, is that I launched my own online training programs, starting off with my Social PR Virtuoso Master Course in 2015. And that's kind of grown to be, now I have a coaching program. I have like a membership program that's kind of an ongoing training that all of which I launched last year. And so it's really interesting to be in the education space from so many different angles.
This is great. And I'm sure, I know you have a free master class, and I'm sure you are going to share with that with us, maybe. So please stay till the end of the show where you are going to get some freebies. So I'm just going to get started with the first question here. And you are the CEO and the founder of your own company for almost a decade. So can you please share with us how PR practice has changed within the last decade? And what are some of the compelling, maybe top 3 patterns or trends that you have personally experienced or noticed? So can you please share with us?
You bet. Yeah, it's been 10 years. My goodness, I feel so old. And of course, before that, I was in the agency world and working for, a big nonprofit. So I've kind of been there, done that. It's really interesting when you think about 10 years ago, Twitter was still not mainstream. Mm-hmm. Facebook had just barely started to open up outside of the .edu framework. I think it had been out of .edu just for a couple of years, maybe. MySpace was big, like in 2005, 2006. MySpace was really, really big. It was like the network to get onto. YouTube was relatively new, I think, back then. Or when was YouTube launched? Because I know I'm going to flood this up. Somebody look up, please, and see when YouTube actually went live. But we did not have social technologies. And the way we use social media today was just not being done back then because they were so new. It was kind of like the Wild West. And I feel, with social technology starting to really come into our workspace, it changed how we do business. So I remember when I worked at my first agency in the United States, I remember printing out press releases, running them down to the print shop, getting them Z-folded. They had to be Z-folded. They couldn't just be folded. They had to be Z-folded. And then stuffing them. And then you had to pay extra to the print shop if you wanted them printed and Z-folded and stapled and stuffed, and then stamping them, running them through the franking machine, running down to the post box. I mean, it's crazy if you think of how much of that kind of stuff we used to do. We used to have to fax media advisories to news assignment desks. And now we do everything electronically. We do everything virtually, which is really remarkable. So I think that's obviously one of the big changes, just how, thanks to technology, our work has really shifted from, in many respects, a very physical plane into a very virtual one. Secondly, so much, especially smart. Hey, Jerry, 2005. Okay, there we go. So it was not that long ago. Yeah, and Valentine's Day of 2005. So thanks to that. So that was one big change, obviously, that I think has impacted everyone's practice of PR. For me, what it meant was moving from that traditional media relations mindset and framework into really making it much more community focused and oriented. And quite frankly, that's how I've always been. I've always thought about PR. Yeah, you want to get your media stories or stay out of the media in some regards. You want to raise visibility using these channels of information that people consume, which back in the day was primarily the mainstream media or niche media or B2B or whatever. But then once you started to have these social platforms where people could talk to each other, it just opened up so many more avenues to you. So as PR professionals, what we really need to do is focus our attention on multiple audiences, not just that one media audience. Now, unfortunately, I think a lot of PR pros still get stuck in that media relations mentality. And it drives me nuts because I think media relations is awesome. And frankly, a good media relations pro is so valuable, but there's so much more that you can do. And if you really start to think about how your product or service is of value to your end user and your community, and look at it from their point of view, which is what good PR should always have been about.
Absolutely.
And then use social technologies to reach them. That's where the magic starts to happen. So I probably gave you a bunch of things. I don't know if I gave you 3 compelling patterns, but technology, community, and then really kind of, being of value for me are the three big things that I do see more and more people moving towards in terms of trends. But that's certainly what's top for me.
Oh, those are some really great points. And
actually, can I add one more?
Yes.
Can I add one more?
Yes.
Measurement. How could I blank on that? Measurement is something that's really, really important to me and has been for a long time. And I think it's an area that a lot of PR pros are scared of, and they kind of are hesitant to go there but now it's almost like no excuse, because so much of it is digital. And once you get into the digital space, you can put really smart metrics and correlations in place. And in fact, as you know, I teach and talk a lot about that as well. So that would be a big trend and big difference that I've seen for sure.
Yes, absolutely. Those are some really amazing points. I was just thinking about my own personal journey. When I just started my journey on social media, and it is really about like self-promotion. Hey, check out my publication, check out this, check out that. I didn't really think about my audience at all, or trying to add value other than self-promotion. So I have definitely moved away from that. So when you were talking about like being of value and building community, and so that's what like came to my mind. Also measurement, even for my own show, I look at like Facebook insights to see like which piece of content and people kind of like the most, and like use that to inform my decision making and what type of guests I want to bring to my show. So yes, exactly. And we have a question here from Dorothy, and she asked if offline activities in marketing still have any place in today's marketplace. And can you comment on that?
Absolutely. Just because I'm talking about what we can do online and how much we can do online, how trackable everything online is, does not at all mean that we should ignore what's happening offline. I think there's absolutely a place for grassroots efforts, events, offline, other types of offline activities, face-to-face interaction, meetings with key stakeholder groups. If you go back to media, kind of those desk side briefings and so on, there's absolutely a very, very important place for it. I don't think it should be either or. I think we need to be looking at what are we trying to achieve. You've heard me say this before. What is the outcome? What's the anticipated outcome? Work from the end, like begin at the end and work backwards from there. And Suresh, who is part of our general, my community as well, posed a very interesting question to me on Twitter today, based on the Twitter chat that I did yesterday with Social ROI, and then the live interview I did with Madeline after, saying, isn't that kind of reverse engineering? And I think that's a great way to look at it. But the difference, and Jerry will correct me if I'm wrong, because he actually is an engineer, I believe. Reverse engineering, you're actually taking apart a product that already exists, and then you're seeing how it's put together. Your husband's also into data and all of that, right?
Yes.
And you're replicating it you're kind of seeing how you can extend that. So it's kind of the same premise, but ours is a little bit different because we don't know what that strategy is. And we're starting at the end, thinking of what we want to achieve, and then working backwards from there. So going back to the point about offline, I think it really depends on that. What's that outcome that we're trying to achieve? And then what are all the pieces that need to fit in? Where does offline play a part? I will also say, I think it is really important, even more important now that we are getting really into this whole other type of Wild West with artificial intelligence and virtual reality and augmented reality. I think it's even more important to have offline elements in one's programs, because at the end of the day, we're people. If we forget that we're human and that we're people, boom, you can say goodbye to everything else.
Yes, definitely. And we have, I was just laughing, looking at this comment from Teresa. She still remember those old days. Yes. And you are,
FedEx, my God, Teresa, your clients must have had money to spend, because we didn't have money to go to FedEx.
And this is a really interesting discovery from my friend Antonio's. And YouTube started as a dating site. I didn't even know that. Do you know that?
Well, I did not know that, but it makes sense because it launched on Valentine's Day.
Oh, wow. How far we have come. Oh, my God.
It's amazing.
And LinkedIn was in 2003 from Jerry. Melissa is here, and yes, she was resonating with you regarding values. And Eugene is here. Oh, thank you so much. And saying hi to you. And Elaine. Tech community and value resonating with what you shared earlier. And Google search optimization changes. Yes, absolutely. Oh, so many comments. I couldn't even keep up with everyone. Keep them coming, everyone. This is really great. And Natasha is here. She's all over from Grace. Thank you for the great comments.
Wow.
And yeah, I'm going just to move to and Twitter was 2006. Yes, I remember that. Yes. And so you talk a lot about social PR in your presentations and in your training. So can you please explain to us how you define social PR, and maybe even share one story or one example where social PR worked really effectively in terms of achieving the overall business goals?
You bet. So when I talk about social PR, a lot of times folk just simply assume that it's an extension of what you're doing on the PR front. So you're just extending that in social platforms. That's part of it, but that's not all of it, because social PR really looks at the social aspect. So, really, how are we actually helping to build bridges? How are we actually using technology to bring people closer, people and organizations closer? And how are we socializing the conversation around our brands, our products, our services, our organizations, our clients, so that we really start to build, educate, and motivate multiple communities of influence to start telling our stories with and for us. So if you think about it from that point of view, it completely flips how you would think of PR, because you start to look at who the various storytellers might be, and they're not just internal, there are multiple stakeholders on an external front, way beyond just media. And then it really starts to have a very direct correlation to, or similarity to, what we now call influencer marketing and influencer outreach, because we're looking for people who can really tap into their communities. And it doesn't matter how big the community is, but can they motivate their communities to get excited about your service, product, story, whatever. So that's why I call it social PR, because the minute we can start to extend the storytelling, and as somebody said, let your communities tell your stories for you, it becomes much more effective. First of all, it's more efficient, right? Because you've got, let's say, 500 people, for example, telling your story in their own words for you, than just one person or one entity that is brand related. Then it becomes, it allows you to scale your programs. And of course, that doesn't mean you stop doing all of your other marketing and branding efforts, but it allows you to scale in a completely different way, because you have other people helping you. And it becomes much more relatable, because other people are, it's social proof. Other people are telling your story for you. So I could have shouted from the rooftops, oh my God, I'm this and I'm this and I'm that. But you saying what you feel about me to your community is way more impactful than if I would have come in and just said, hey, did you know that I got the blah, 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 doop. Who's going to care? They don't know me. Why should they give a crap? Hopefully I'm allowed to say that on your show.
Oh yeah, of course.
So that is really the social side of things, and what social PR means to me, and why I use that phrase and started to develop, these programs where you can really come at it from a social PR kind of point of view. The other big thing is, Jess is like, amplify. Yeah, exactly. And the other big thing is, once you do this and you put your community's needs front and center, it really starts to become about being of value, which is what we were talking about earlier. And because people want to tell stories that move them, that help them, that make them feel different. And that's what we have to tap into. So if we put the focus on being of service and being of value, that's when they want to start to tell the story for you. You asked for an example of this, and I honestly can't think of any better example of when I worked with USA for UNHCR. So that's going back some years. And that was for this campaign that they had called the Blue Key campaign. So this was all about raising funds and awareness around refugee issues within the United States through this motive that they had of a $5 blue key. It was blue, the color, pin and pendant. And then the funds raised within the United States would be funneled to Geneva and then dispersed to refugee relief around the world. And I was tasked, my little consultancy was tasked with coming up with the digital strategy. And I really took this champion approach as opposed to, hey, let's extend, what the traditional PR agency of record was doing in the digital space. So we really focused on getting to finding people who were influential in their communities, for whom this cause and nonprofit causes in general resonated, people who were known for being kind of social advocates and known for getting involved in advocacy campaigns online. I have to confess, a lot of them were my friends because, I've been working in that space for a while now, but I did not pitch them just because they were my friends. We had to get the list approved by the client and then, make sure that the pitch was really relevant to them. And it was a good pitch because, quite frankly, the last person in the world that I don't want any pitch to bomb, but I would feel really, really foolish if my friends and peers in the space got a pitch from me and it sucked. So imagine if I were pitching you on something that you don't care about at all. You'd be like, Chanel, you don't even know me. Why are you doing this? And you would be nice enough to not say it to me, but in your head, you'd be going, maybe she doesn't know all that much about what she's doing after all. But we took that kind of champion approach. We call them the Blue Key champions, these people that we brought in, and we asked them, we primed them, and we created a secret Facebook group. Nobody was doing that back then. And we created this forum where they could get to know each other. They could get to know the organization. We asked them for their ideas, and there was a lot of community management. And it really, really took off. And, we had some amazing results over the course of that year. We certainly hit the quantitative goal that we had in terms of how many keys we wanted to have sold. But things like growing the email list, starting to go offline. Somebody was asking about that earlier. Starting to have Blue Key tweet ups because the champions all wanted to start meeting each other and meeting like-minded people in the community. So we kind of gave them a platform on which to do that. Corporate sponsorship started coming in. Back then, Cision came in, as my good friend Heidi Sullivan was with Cision. Then Cision came in, and they loved the fact, it's classic influencer marketing. They saw a lot of the influencers they wanted to reach were getting involved with this program. They were like, let's look at this program. And of course, Heidi is just such a genuine person at heart, and she was instrumental in, she and I didn't know each other super well at the time. But she said, how can we support this? And I was like, what, do you want to buy a bunch of keys and use them as your holiday giveaway? And she was like, yeah, that would be great. And they came in and bought 500 keys. And they used that as their giveaway to, kind of their clients that year, which was such a nice thing to do. But that was one of these amazing campaigns where, we had this idea, we kind of mapped out the strategy, but we really looked to build that community of influencers and champions. And then as they started to get comfortable with the program, they started saying, what else can we do? And so they wanted to do, tweetathons. The first tweetathon that we did was, I planned it, of course, and helped manage it, but they were the ones front and center. The events that we did, the Q&As that we did, the champions were really front and center. So that really, and I didn't even know that it started being used as a case study in a bunch of universities. So,
oh wow,
it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's an amazing example. Everything you shared just reminded me of the recent Facebook newsfeed change. Yesterday I was listening to talking about community offering value, let other people tell you stories. I was listening to the latest episode by Social Media Examiner and the podcast episode. I highly recommend everyone check it out. And Michael Stelzner kind of offered his interpretation of what the newsfeed change means. And he made the argument that using Facebook as a content distribution vehicle, those days are over, and now Facebook is really moving to prioritize engagement between people, not engagement between you and the brand, but engagement between like the audience and long conversations and comments, meaningful comments and discussions, and kind of resonate with the example you were sharing, like community and offering value and let them tell the stories. Yes, definitely also check out that episode. We have a question a few minutes ago from Tressa here. And she noticed kind of direct newsletter has become popular as opposed to RSS feed. So what is your take on this, Shanali?
So Tressa, first of all, I want to give Tressa a virtual hug because I haven't seen her in so long. And we miss each other at the PRSA conference because we have this annual meetup at the PRSA International Conference, and we didn't get to do that in 2017. So Tressa, here's my opinion since you asked for it. Email has always been important. PR pros just don't like to acknowledge that, and PR pros tend to focus on informational, or have tended, I should say, to focus on informational news, which is of course very useful at times, but they haven't cared too much about click-throughs and all of that. The reason you're seeing a lot more of email is because whatever you're trying to convert people to, email converts better than anything else. So that's why you're seeing a lot more, because if people of email in your inbox, or people asking you to opt in for email as opposed to something else, because it's they're inviting you in, and when they're inviting you in, they're likely to have a higher degree of attention, assuming that they're opening your emails and all of that, than they do for anything else. So I will tell you, I still have my RSS set up. I still have Feedly, but I don't even look at it these days because everybody that I want to stay on top of is either coming into my email, or I'm looking at them on Facebook or through Twitter lists. I mean, so, that's my opinion, since you asked as to why that was happening. Yeah. And then there's so much trackability through email, right? So, but that's why, in my opinion, you're seeing that.
That's great. And Natasha is giving you high fives, and she loved everything you shared. And we have so many, Elaine here made another great comment in terms of user-generated content, and people start to trust you, and you build that trust and build that relationship. And the brands also need to offer value. Great points. I want to show everyone's comments, but we have so many amazing comments here.
This is a great one. The harsh reality, I think Jody said, the harsh reality is that people don't care about you. They care about exactly how can your product or service benefit me. So one of the things I didn't mention was that a couple of years ago, Tracker, TRACKR, not the other Tracker. That's why I always spell it out. I love them. Love. And they actually helped me a ton when I was doing the Blue Key campaign. They gave me free use of their platform to discover influencers, which is why I love them so much. And they're really, really nice people. But they engaged with me so they became my client at that point, to develop their online academy of influencer marketing. And it's free. The first course is totally free, so you guys should go check it out. It's education.tracker.com. And that's the thing that we really stress, is that instead of the what's in it for me approach, we need to flip that and say what's in it for them. So regardless of whether you're talking to your communities or about your communities or your influencers, because your influencers are also a community, or they can become one. Yes. They don't have to just be your influencers, because you want to build those relationships. And if you're really looking to see how you can be of value and of service to them, that is what people care about. Jody's absolutely right. Nobody cares about you. Well, everybody only cares about themselves.
Yes, I remember I read this article or a book a few a few months ago, saying that people didn't purchase you, they purchase the outcomes that your service or product is going to bring to them, exactly the same point. Yes. And Andy is here, and he mentioned a really good case study. Is that your friend? Yes. Thank you for being here. Definitely check it out. And this seems to be amazing resources to check out later after the show, everyone. And be decisive. I love it too. Yes.
So that is, Jerry's talking about that poster that's on the outside of my door.
I can't even see anything.
And that was given to me by a friend of mine who's also a space planner, and she helped me when I was redoing my office. She helped design it and so on. And then when it was done, she sent me that poster, which I thought was awesome. And it's kind of like all of these little motivational things, like how you do anything is how you do everything. Beauty plus order equals happiness, etc.
That's amazing. Yes. I'm just going to move forward here to respect everyone's time. And other than being a really amazing PR and social media professional, you are also a superstar educator at Rutgers University and Johns Hopkins University. As I introduced to you at the beginning of the show, in 2016, you won the Instructor of the Year award at Johns Hopkins University, and congratulations. So can you please share with us how has being a practitioner and educator at the same time helps you fulfill each of the roles you are playing?
Well, first of all, thank you for the kind words. And yeah, that award made me very proud and also very humble, because I had no idea it was coming. And I'm adjunct faculty. I'm not even on, a tenure track. So I was like, whoa, that's really, really amazing. But I think, I wouldn't have been hired as a professor had it not been for my work. And that's probably a trend that you see as well. More and more organizations and academic institutions want their students to have real world experience. They're looking for practitioners who can come in and teach their students. And this is a big trend. This is not going away anytime soon. In fact, it's just going to increase because of the economies of it, as well as universities. Everybody wants to make more money. Let's face it, right? So there's that. And and then from the academic point of view, I've always had a teaching approach to my work. So I've always, trained clients, had workshops, speaking engagements, and so on. So I've always wanted to share how to do something better, because I feel if we are teaching someone how to do that, then we're extending the life of our learnings, because we're passing it on. We're helping to give back to the industry and to the profession, and we're just, doing something good. It becomes also more efficient, because then you can stop teaching your client, or you can stop doing X, Y, Z and move to a higher level of work. So from a business point of view, for me, it makes total sense to try and educate clients, because then what I really want to be hired for, which is the strategy work, the audit work, the high level consulting, is what comes to me, because they trust me that I know how to do it and I'm teaching to them.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of what I found, how those two play together very, very beautifully. And it's wonderful. I'm really lucky, and I really appreciate, I'm grateful for the opportunities. And I learned so much from my students. I've learned so much about online learning, instructional design, engaging education, because nobody wants to be bored through their classes.
Absolutely.
And I actually find with my students, because all of my courses are online now, as I really maintain very active discussion forums, and that makes a big difference to students. So, I make an effort, and we do weekly class calls that are video calls and so on. And especially because we're online, I don't want them to forget that we're all real people as well.
Absolutely.
And we learn so much from each other. It's remarkable.
Absolutely. No wonder you won the award. You are an amazing educator. And my argument is that I think educators should not only be educators. We should also be practitioners. That's kind of my stance, especially if you are teaching social media, marketing, public relations, you have to be in the field to get your hands dirty to learn, And I'm curious to see how everyone in the audience is thinking about this. Do you think educators should also be practitioners? What is your take on this? And please type in the comments and I'm going to respond later. And speaking of teaching students, and if you can think of the students you are teaching, Sonali, and what do you think are some of the biggest knowledge gaps that you see in our students? Do you think they are fully prepared to work in today's digital workplace where everything is being changed and disrupted and reinvented constantly?
Yes and no. I mean, they're very smart. Obviously, you have to be to get into those programs, and they're very tech savvy. Some are not as tech savvy as others, but many are. But it's kind of consistently what I find is measurement. It tends to be one of the big, not stumbling blocks, but they just have to think about it differently because there's still so much, unfortunately, that is being talked about in the space. It doesn't matter what AMEC and all are doing. AMEC's doing great stuff. But ultimately, at agencies, at other places, there's still a focus on outputs and what we're putting out there and impressions and all of that. And so to get them to the point where they're really thinking about outcomes and understanding how to craft smart, measurable objectives, that is one of the biggest learning gaps. And I really, really focus on that a lot. So in one of my courses, they kind of hate me up until about week 5 or so, because it's all about, if they haven't come up with a measurable objective, I'm like, well, that's not a measurable objective, because a measurable objective has to be quantifiable and it has to be time bound. If you don't have those two factors, that's not a measurable objective. And it's like, but that's one of the big, probably one of the biggest things. The other thing that I find is maybe, again, because people are just so smart, they tend to get very elaborate with their strategies and tactics, and you don't need to necessarily, because then you start to lose a focus on the actual outcomes. You get stuck with what's exciting and what's fun. Do what's exciting and fun, but keep your eye on the ball. Keep your eye on what you're trying to accomplish. So those are kind of the two areas that I really I find where the learning gaps tend to be.
Oh, those are some great insights. I have a question from Suzanne, and she asks you, what platform do you use for online discussions with your students?
So, Suzanne, for Hopkins, we use Adobe Connect, which comes through the university. Rutgers recently switched over to Canvas for the online program, and actually have not been. The Rutgers program is a much shorter one. It's just 4 weeks, so I don't really. Over there, we have a very active discussion forum, but we don't actually do the video calls because it's just 4 weeks, and everybody's busy and stuff. And then for my own programs, where people sign on to my master course or to my private mastermind group, I actually use Zoom. Which works very, very well. And then when I do webinars, and you're actually going to be doing a private training for my private mastermind group, we are hopefully going to be using a product called Webinar Jam, which when it works great, and when it doesn't, it's like totally blows. But that's what I use.
Yeah, those are some really great recommendations. My school also have our own internal system for students and teachers to engage in discussion, but it is not very user-friendly. So over the past, I have been using a Facebook group and Twitter. That's kind of where I engage in lots of interactions with my students. And and Zoom is a great platform. I also like it. Yeah, definitely plan to use it to do some video calls with my students, as I will be teaching classes online in the fall semester myself.
Oh, okay. So cool.
Just to wrap up here, and what is one project and that you are super fired up about right now, Sonali, and how can we help you promote or share or spread out the message?
Well, thank you for asking. So I would actually love for folk to check out my free webinar on kind of using social PR to turbocharge your career, because it's kind of a sneak peek into my principles and this my 7C social PR framework that I developed some years ago. And it's like the foundation of my social PR Virtuoso Master course, which I love. And I worked on it, like I said, I launched it in late 2015. It did amazingly well, and I have amazingly smart people in it. I would love for people to check it out. If you're in the PR field, and you want to get a really solid grounding in everything they didn't teach you, like everything they didn't teach me when I was at the mid-level at an agency, a great agency, but I had no one to teach me. So I just kind of made mistakes and figured my way out. I'd love for you to check out that master course. And if you want to sign up straight away, then, just shoot me a note and I'll shoot you the link and boom, you'll be in. But I would love you to take my free webinar, which is socialprvirtuoso.com. Is it okay to say this, I?
Oh, yeah, of course. And please type the link if you can share the link with us.
I don't know where to type in Be Live TV, though. I don't have a... Okay,
I'll just... Facebook. Yeah, go to Facebook later.
Later. Okay, but I'll just say socialprvirtuoso.com/free social PR class. And that will take you to a page where you can sign up for whatever time works for you. And you'll get a really good, very solid webinar on kind of 3 things you can do to really kind of jumpstart your social PR career. And then if you want to sign up for the actual master course, which is a lifetime access program, it's completely online and self-paced with tons of tips and tricks and worksheets and plans and, all of the stuff that I developed for my own work. I'd love for you to come in there, but at least do the free one, because you don't have to do anything else. If you want, you just do the free one and you're done.
Is this the one on February 10th to 12th that you're talking about? Or because I found a link.
That might have been last year. So this is...
No problem. You can just insert the link yourself later.
Okay, I will.
To find it. Yeah. That's amazing. Cool. And can you please share with us one parting piece of advice, Shunali, and how can people connect with you to learn more from you? Because everyone just loves you in the audience, and you are just like on fire today. So thank you so much. Please share one piece of advice and contact information.
Absolutely. And Jody's just asking me to read the URL back, so I'll just do that slowly. Jody, it's socialprvirtuoso.com/free social PR class. And that's all together, one string. So parting words of wisdom, now that you've got me talking, it's going to be hard to shut me up. But I can't stress this enough. I think just if you can do one thing every day to help somebody, just one thing, without thinking about what's in it for you. And I think by and large, people tend to be nice people. Thank you so much, Tressa. Just do one thing, and it'll come back to you. I truly, truly believe that. So another free resource, as Tressa knows, and you know as well, as I have a free social PR group, Social PR Posse. So maybe if somebody could drop the link in there, I welcome you to join that as well, where people share a lot of ideas. Andy is in that group as well, and he's a great, great community member and leader. And you can find me there. You can find me on Twitter at Shunali. If you've been on this show and want to send me a personal friend request, I'd be delighted. I'm easy to find, Shunali Burke. It's not that hard to find me, or my website, shunaliburke.com.
Yes, I am about to enter the link to join the Facebook group. Please definitely join and click on the link. It is a great group and lots of awesome discussions. And thank you so much, Shunali, for everything. And I learned a lot, and everyone in the audience learned a lot. And thank you so much for being here today. And thank you so much, everyone, for being in the audience. I truly appreciate every single one of you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Bye, everyone. Lovely to be here. Thank you for having me.
Bye. See you next Wednesday, the same place, same time, we are going to talk about online course creation and gamification, how to use game as a way to teach your course. So see you next Wednesday. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.